My name is Oliver, and I'm 29 years old, living in Los Angeles. This is the story of how my life fell apart and was rebuilt in a single night. I will never be able to erase the image of Freya walking through the front door that evening. It was a crisp, clear autumn night in Seattle, a city known for its moody weather, but that night was still. Her smile was completely natural, entirely carefree. It was the same smile she used to save just for me back when things were good between us, when our home felt like a sanctuary and not a stage for lies. For a brief moment, that genuine expression almost fooled me, almost made me forget the heavy truth that was sitting between us like an unexploded bomb. But I already knew where she had been, and more importantly, I knew who she had been with. She strolled in, humming a soft, unrecognizable tune. It was a melody of a life she was living that I wasn't a part of. She placed her handbag on the kitchen counter with the casual ease of a woman returning from an ordinary day, completely unaware of the quiet storm that had been simmering across the room. Then her eyes finally landed on the photograph I had meticulously placed in the center of the kitchen island. The single low overhead light I had left on illuminated it perfectly, turning the small space into a spotlight on her secret. I saw her entire body freeze. That effortless smile vanished instantly, replaced by a look of sheer terror. Her skin turned a ghostly pale, her breath hitched, and she took a shaky step backward, as if the image had physically reached out and slapped her. She clutched the edge of the counter, her fingers turning stark white from the pressure. I had printed it earlier that morning. It was a flawless, glossy 5x7 photo, crystal clear and undeniable. She was wearing a stunning red dress I had given her on our 2-year anniversary, a dress she claimed was too special to wear often. Her head was thrown back in a carefree laugh while another man had his hand placed intimately on her lower back, his fingers just a little too low. They were standing in the lobby of a chic boutique hotel downtown, the same hotel she had insisted was part of a spa weekend with her girlfriends about a month ago. My gut had been screaming at me for weeks. The subtle changes, the late nights, the vague excuses. I had enough doubt to finally hire a private investigator. The result was a detailed, undeniable report that laid bare everything she thought she had hidden so well. It included a thick stack of photographs, hotel receipts, screenshots of their messages, and a timeline of their meetings. I had spent weeks studying them, night after night in our home office, letting the bitter reality of her betrayal settle in until I could finally face it head on. The anger and hurt had been a slow burn, but tonight, it was finally her turn to face the music. She could barely find her voice. "What is this?" she whispered, her eyes flickering frantically between me and the photo, as if begging the universe to rewrite the reality in front of her. "You tell me," I replied, my tone eerily calm. It was the kind of unnatural stillness that builds just before the sky cracks open and the storm breaks loose. She said nothing, her face a blank mask of shock, but her eyes were pleading with a desperation I had never seen before. She looked trapped, like a wild animal caught under the unforgiving glare of headlights, searching for a way out that didn't exist. There was nowhere left for her to run. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, my words sharp and cutting through the suffocating silence. "Oliver, How long?" I repeated, my voice now devoid of any emotion, a blade cutting deeper into the air between us. That was when she broke. Her shoulders slumped in defeat, and she barely managed to whisper, 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. 6 months of deception. 6 months of watching her slip out of the house with a smile I thought was for me. 6 months of her lying to my face, of her sharing moments and touches, and words that should have been ours, with someone else. A cold, steady fury pulsed through me, a frigid current of pure rage. But I refused to let it show. Not yet. I picked up the photo from the island and held it up to her. "Him," I said quietly, pointing to the man holding her in the picture. "What's his name?" She hesitated, fresh tears welling up in her eyes. "Mark," she said, her voice cracking under the weight of the name. "Mark," I repeated. "The guy you met in hotel rooms while you told me you were at a book club, reading fiction and sipping wine with your friends." I continued, my voice gaining a bitter edge. "Mark, the man you gave yourself to while I worked overtime to cover the mortgage, the bills, your car, your entire lifestyle. That Mark." She collapsed into gut-wrenching sobs. Her hands flew up to cover her face as she broke down in front of me. A complete emotional wreck. But I stood there, still, unmoved. Her tears didn't touch me. They didn't move me to pity or forgiveness. If anything, they only fueled the fire that had been smoldering inside me for months. I didn't mean for this to happen, she cried through her sobs. It was a mistake. I took a deliberate step back, my expression as hard and unyielding as stone. Forgetting to pay a bill is a mistake. This wasn't a mistake, Freya. This was a calculated choice. You made this choice over and over again. Her desperate eyes locked with mine. I'll end it with him. I'll do anything, Oliver. Just don't leave me. I still love you. A hollow, humorless laugh escaped my throat. It was a sound that surprised even me. You love me? I asked, the words dripping with a bitterness that felt foreign. No, you don't betray someone you love. You don't cheat and lie and make them feel like they were never enough. I turned and walked into the living room, picking up a thin folder I had placed on the table earlier. I handed it to her without a word. Look through it, I said flatly. Her hands shook as she flipped through the contents. Every damning piece of evidence was neatly organized. Photos, receipts, dates, and times. With each page, her expression crumbled further. When she looked up again, I cut her off before she could speak. No more, I said. I've already spoken to a lawyer. The passwords have been changed. The locks too. I want you out by tomorrow. The divorce papers will be served next week. She gasped, the sound of a person who had just been punched in the gut. No, Oliver, don't do this. We can fix it, please. Counseling. We can work through this. There's no fixing this, I snapped. The last shred of my composure finally gone. You ended us the moment you let him into your life. I just took my time realizing it. She fell to the floor, sobbing and begging, but it was already too late. Her cries, her pleas, they couldn't erase that photo from my mind. They couldn't erase the image of her, pressed against another man in the lobby of a hotel. I left her there, a broken woman, and walked upstairs. My suitcase was already packed, sitting by the door. I rolled it into the guest room. There was no way in hell I was ever sharing a bed with her again. Sleep was impossible. I lay awake, haunted by memories of when we first met in New York City. The wedding, the plans we made for our future, the life we had built together. How much of it had been a lie? How long had she been faking it? And how could I have been so utterly blind? By morning she was gone. She had left a note on the kitchen counter, asking me to forgive her and begging me to reconsider. I didn't even finish reading it. The weeks that followed were tough, a blur of emotional pain and exhaustion. But I stayed busy. I buried myself in my work in Chicago, reconnected with old friends, and started therapy. Slowly, the crushing weight of the anger and bitterness began to loosen its grip. Healing was a slow, agonizing process, but it was happening. Then one afternoon, I received a message from Mark's wife. She had also discovered their affair. We decided to meet for coffee in Miami, a neutral city far from the ghosts of our past. We talked for hours about our heartbreak, the betrayal, and how we were both moving on. It was oddly comforting to share the experience with someone who understood the pain firsthand. We made a quiet promise to remind each other that we deserved better. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Freya and Mark's relationship had fallen apart. She had left the city shortly after. I didn't feel vindicated or happy, just a sense of final closure. The photo that had sparked it all now lies in a box, tucked deep in my closet, a painful relic of a life that's over. But it serves a purpose, a reminder to trust my instincts, to never settle for less than I deserve, and to value honesty above all else. As for me, I'm okay now. Actually, I'm more than okay. I've started dating again, carefully and cautiously, but with a renewed sense of hope. I feel something I haven't felt in a very long time, freedom. The freedom to live my truth, to love again, and to be genuinely happy. And I've realized that is the sweetest revenge of all.